Hello, hello. Welcome to Fireside Chat with Kimberly. That's me, right? Uh, Thanks so much for being here with me tonight. First, thank you to Cotton Branch Farm Sanctuary, the sponsor for this week's talks. Prize packs for this month's contests have been donated by Hodo Foods, Follow Your Heart, Cinnaholic, Revolution Gelato, Terra Seed, Fabulous, Rebel Cheese, and Veg Key. So head on over to virtualvegfest.com, enter your info in the contest tab section, and hopefully you win something really awesome from one of our amazing sponsors. So, hi, hello. Hey, Diane. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate that. So I've been away for a couple of weeks, right? So first, I want to thank Kayla for filling in for me last week. She did a great job, and I really appreciate that. You guys didn't have to go without some, Monday night engagement. So thank you, Kayla. So what's been going on? I I've been away because we had a death in our immediate family. My sister-in-law passed away, and so I was away because of that. She was a really lovely person, and I don't want to get too into it because, as you can hear, I'm already getting choked up, and there's so many sad things to talk about tonight. But she was really wonderful, and we miss her very much. So thank you for allowing me the space to grieve and to take the time to be with my husband and his family while we went through that process. I am really happy to be back here, even though I'm already crying. Um, I love being here, and I appreciate that you guys show up and you join me and you're here with me. Um, okay, so Roe versus Wade, right? We have to talk about it. I have never had an abortion. I would have, though. I know for sure that I would have had I gotten pregnant at any point before I was married. And I, I I know that about me, and I had appreciated that that was an option available to me at any point should I need it. Those of us who have been victims of sexual assault also know how important having the ability to choose to not have to live through those moments every time you look in a person's face um, is really important. The most important thing, though, is the option to choose. And now that so many people, like, let's be real, right? The people who can get pregnant, some of them are going to die because they're going to need an abortion and they're not going to be able to get one. And it still boggles my mind how far we've come, and yet we haven't come very far at all. And, it's the timing couldn't have been better. I've had this book on hold. It's Kate Moore's The Woman They Could Not Silence at my library for a while, and it came through just a couple of weeks ago. And it's a hefty book, so I'm working my way through it. Um, and I've been appalled and hurt and angry and like shaking the book. I was so mad about the way Elizabeth, who is the woman they could not silence, the way Elizabeth was being treated. This book takes place in the 1860s. This is a true story. And I'm not going to give I'm not going to give the story away, but please check it out. Her husband had her committed to an insane asylum, which is what they called it back then. So I apologize for the insensitive words. But right here, towards the beginning of the book, she shows a truncated list of the reasons um, someone, namely husbands, could claim their wives were insane. Again, that was the word used at this time. Religious excitement, disappointed love, overexertion, spiritualism, physical injury, sunstroke, fear, epilepsy, paralysis, unknown, and my favorite, novel reading. And just from I'm about halfway through, just from what I've learned by what Elizabeth has endured after her husband had her committed. You know, back then obviously women were still considered their husband's property, and anything that the woman owned or had, including her children, were his. And her too. She, was considered his. So even though Elizabeth was smart and capable, was raising her children, uh, kept the house clean, kept everyone fed, did all of the things that would be expected back then of a wife. Um, but she didn't agree with the way her husband was going in his religious pursuits. And because she was willing to say, I don't think this is a good idea, he had her committed. Isn't it terrifying to think? Like, this was only the 1860s. If we can remove something so fundamental from a huge portion of the population here, if we can remove that and leave those who can get pregnant without an option to choose, without the ability to decide what is best for them and their lives. And by the way, some people who have abortions have children, whether they already have children and they don't want more, or they they don't yet have children and they have children later in their lives. It's like we should have control over our own bodies. uh a lot of the internet is such a waste of time, except this, of course. Um, there's so many comments, and from women too, saying things like, if you don't want to get pregnant, don't have sex, keep your legs shut. But what about, speaking from people who are saying stuff like this, very often are like super religious, um or I don't know, have some other vendetta, I guess, against others. But what about the married couple who just, decides it's not the right time? Maybe it's early in their marriage and they had different plans. They're not ready. They don't want to be parents yet. They did all the right things, right? They got married first, got settled in their lives, and they get pregnant by accident, which happens, by the way. Not every contraceptive is 100% every single time. And even, like I said, the victims of incest, of rape, like, why should they have to endure that? One of the most interesting things I remember from a college course I took, like intro to ethics type course, and this was before I was even vegetarian, although I went vegetarian not too long after it. But my professor was talking about abortion and how people who are against it Like really, I mean, they just, they'll double down and they're like, no way, no one should be able to choose. Oh, it's life, and they're murdering babies. And by the way, please with that. Um, that you shouldn't be able to get an abortion because you're ending a life, and you shouldn't get to choose. You're not God. You don't get to play God. And then he pointed out that these same people very often eat animals, and pigs, as we know, have been shown to be just as intelligent as a 3 or 4-year-old child. So when you think about a fetus, which is not as intelligent as a 3 or 4-year-old child, and a pig that someone's going to consume their body, in that case, shouldn't the pig have more rights? I mean, they are capable of a life, they have interests, they make friends, they can solve puzzles. Um, there's all kinds of studies that show how pigs can engage in their environment, uh, even like literally putting puzzles together, playing video games. Uh, you know, sure, rudimentary ones, but still, you're not going to get a fetus to do any of that. I just, it's interesting, right? I mean, these people claim they're pro-life, but we all know they're just forced birthers. Um, but they want to call themselves pro-life, but they're not pro all life. They're not even pro all human life, right? These same people are like, don't take away my guns, and we've got, legislation saying no ban on any types of guns. Why? We should have bans on certain types of guns. That is, and the fact that we're still taking advice from, uh, men who, the guns needed to be reloaded like by hand, and it took like 2 minutes between shots. Like, we can't use that to talk about what people should have access to today. So, another way that this ties into veganism, because, well, we're here on Virtual Veg Fest Live, and my whole thing is like, how do we get more vegans in the world, inspire people, be more vegan? Well, you know what? Females in the animal agriculture industry are significantly abused. All animals in animal ag are abused, but, you know, you look at cows, dairy cows, right? And they are forcibly impregnated, so raped, forcibly impregnated, and they, like humans, carry babies for like 9 months. And when that baby is born, the mother already has a bond, just like humans, right? You start to bond to the fetus growing in your body. And, when you're choosing to have a child, and at the end of that, you expect that that child remains with you. But in animal agriculture, it's not productive, efficient, doesn't bring in any money to allow mom um, to raise her baby, right? I don't have the answers, so I don't know if any of you have any suggestions or whatever. I've just been hurting a lot these last couple of weeks, like I said, both personally and kind of just collectively. So I just kind of wanted to come on here and share that. I have some links. I did attend, there were lots of protests, right, on Friday. And the one nearest to me, I found out too late to go. I found out too late that it was happening. But Planned Parenthood also had some virtual um, kind of like action things. Yeah, that's true. So this goes back to my point, right? That they don't care about all life. They just care about the unborn until they're here, because these same people who are like nobody should be able to have an abortion also, they're not typically fostering children. They're not donating to help families who, had to have children they weren't ready for, prepared for, didn't want. Um, and like that's a whole other thing, right? You know how many unwanted kids there are because, for some reason abortion wasn't an option, whether like religious or family pressures, whatever. You know how many unwanted kids there are? Kids who still live with the families they were born into live unwanted. And these people want everyone to never have an abortion. Just but yeah, you're right, Diane. Some of those people would easily kill a doctor or any other person who works in the abortion clinic and claim they did it because those people were killing babies. Yep. I know. It's like how do they want to tell people who are pro-choice about, murdering babies and we don't care about babies and whatever, but we care about who's here. We care about the quality of life of who is already here. Because you know what? If if you're not yet here, like I don't know why it's a concern. We should be concerned about the people who are already here and the world that we've created and making it better, not just adding people to it simply because religion has dictated it. And that is so infuriating. This is supposed to be a country where you can be religious or not, and it doesn't you get to choose whichever religion you want to be is the one that you can be. And so to have these five people who can just make decisions like that and take away a fundamental right, control over your own body. And then one of them immediately comes out and says, like, let's start looking at, gay marriage and contraceptives. What? I read a thing the other day that said that the number of abortions is actually lower under Democratic presidents than under Republican presidents. And that typically that's because contraceptive is contraception contraceptives are made more readily and widely available when a Democrat is in office. And Planned Parenthood is an amazing place. I had a job making like $9 an hour, and I could not afford my own insurance. And I didn't get insurance through the place that I was working. They had me just under the amount of hours I needed, right? And so I would have had to pay out of pocket, and I could not afford that. I had student loans, I had a car payment, so I did not have insurance. So what and I have insurance now for you tattletales. I have insurance now, but back then I didn't. And to go to a regular gynecologist was hundreds of dollars, and this was before birth control was free. So that was also an expense. So I went to Planned Parenthood, and they had a sliding scale option, so I could pay what I could actually afford. And I kept going, um, even a little bit after. Like, I would just go for my annual exam, and, they I would leave with, like, a bag with the birth control pills and then, like, a ton of condoms in there, and it was never shameful. You didn't have to ask. They never made you feel like you were doing something wrong, by being responsible. And I'm so, so grateful for that experience. So like I said, I've never had an abortion. I've never been through that. But I have used the services of Planned Parenthood. And that's not the only thing they do. They don't just do abortions. And they provide a really valuable service to people who need it, who can't afford to go to your standard gynecologist that takes insurance. It's just cost prohibitive and it's just not possible for everyone. So now in these states where abortion will be illegal, that reduces the access to affordable health care. People are going to die, and they don't need to. I don't know. I don't have any answers, but I have some links from the Planned Parenthood event um, that I attended, and so I would like to share them here. Um, Actually, yeah, here's the main one, I think. So you can go here to Planned Parenthood, and you can volunteer with them. You can donate to them. Um, there's even a page that has created like tweets and Facebook posts and stuff, so you can go there and just send those out um, via your various accounts too to show your support and try to make a change. I realize I'm very lucky. I live in New Jersey, which is one of the states where our governor has promised that abortion is not at risk here. But he's not going to be governor forever. So um, we have to keep this stuff in mind too. Well, hopefully next week will be more fun, and I'll try to come up with a topic that is a bit lighter, maybe. Um, but anyway, thank you so much for being here. Um, I'll be back on Wednesday with the stew. We will have our, um, yeah, Diane, you're so right. They don't care. They don't. It's solely about controlling people. It's just, they really don't care. But we do, right? We do. And we have to keep caring, even though it's really friggin' hard. And oh my gosh, does it hurt so much to see what direction kind of we're going in. But we've got to stick together. We are vegan because we have compassion, because we don't want to see other sentient beings suffer, human and other than human alike. So that's what we do. We'll keep going. We're going to keep fighting and don't give up. I'm not going to give up. You don't give up either. I'll see you on Wednesday with the stew. It's our Pride episode for real. Sorry, it keeps getting bumped. And then I'll be back here next Monday. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Bye.